Everyone, and welcome back to Of Bricks and Dragons. Today we're looking at the G.I. Joe role-playing game. Now, I picked this up, when it first came out. Actually, I kind of pre-ordered it. It was a game I really wanted to love. It's not really a bad game, and I don't really want to knock it. It's just that, I'm going to say I'm kind of an old school, because I started off with Dungeons and Dragons, and that was back when it was 2nd edition. So I know I'm kind of aging myself a little bit, but it's just where I'm coming from. So that's really why I want to bring that out. I'm someone that's played played role playing games for a very long time, and I admit when I first started playing, there was the big red scare. Concerns were that kids were taking Dungeons and Dragons seriously, and we were running around with swords because unfortunately. That was just kind of the running myth that was going on, because there was one kid that had unfortunately self-deleted himself, and come to find out it was actually more drug related than it really was anything else. And they found a D&D book in his school dorm because he was in college. So I want to just start off and say this is where I come from. Okay, so for me and my group, I don't really try to take the characters overly serious, because we had kind of come into doing role-playing games as we don't want to get too bogged down into, this is our character, this is me, really, and get overly tied into a character. So with me saying that, here we have G.I. Joe, which is a really good take on doing G.I. Joe, and it has a lot of great flavor for having G.I. Joe. Now, they're really basing this off of, I think it was IDW G.I. Joe at the time. So if you grew up with G.I. Joe in the cartoons and maybe the original comic books, it might be a little bit different for you. So as I say that, you see I have some of the figures. Hasbro had come out and they were relaunching some of the old G.I. Joes and the Cobras and all that, and Target, even to this day, they're still doing some of the G.I. Joes. You can get them here and there. Now, I admit I'm in Wisconsin, so I'm in the Midwest, and like with a lot of other toys or whatever, it seems like the East Coast and the West Coast usually get all the really good. Well, I won't say really good, but they get a little bit more variety on some of the figures than what we do here in the Midwest. So thankfully, at times, with Amazons or being able to purchase things online through Walmarts or Targets or any of the other stores that people would typically buy from. And I know that there are G.I. Joe websites that you can buy the stuff, or I think you can even buy it off of Hasbro's website itself. So I had started picking up some of these because, it hits my nostalgia. So it's a wonderful thing. And you could use these. I mean, even if you wanted to use them for your Fallouts or Star Wars or whatever. I mean, they have the Star Wars, they have Marvels, and, pick up figures. I mean, the figure that you want to use is your figure. It doesn't matter if it really matches the actual figure you're trying to portray, or if maybe that is exactly what you want your figure to look like. So I know that there's been plenty of other reviews, and a lot of reviews give G.I. Joe a really high mark and all that, and I'm not going to say it doesn't deserve it. Here's where my problems really come in. It's a good game. I've made up a couple characters. I think that they even had a couple, I think there's even an online way to make a character or whatever, character generation. They have really good artwork in here. So they had some good artists coming up with good renditions of the different characters, talking about them, breaking down what they were or what they are in the latest iteration of G.I. Joe, and then how to make characters, your backgrounds, which I know has been done in some of the other games that we've played throughout the years. And it helps build you up as a character. So it fleshes you out. It gives you a background and why you are the way you are. And like I said, for me, when I started role-playing, it was a whole different world. The the concern is if you did Dungeons and Dragons, you were a devil worshiper, and everybody kind of kept us at bay. It wasn't mainstream like it is today and all that. So, and then we have, leveling characters, starting everything up, different focuses and all that. Really, my issue kind of comes into combat. And, if you're looking at a level 1 character fighting another level 1 character, your guns are doing 1 damage. Your knives are doing 1 damage. Your everything does 1 damage. And you don't have very many hit points. So, in listening to Renegade Studios, and they were talking about it, they wanted combat to be kind of quick and potentially deadly, which I don't have an issue with. And okay, so you can level your guns up and stuff like that. So I guess I'll say in some regards a gun will be kind of a reflection of you. It will become part of your character. It'll, whenever you think of certain characters, they always have a certain type of weapon with them. They always have that, and it never seems to, they'll get captured and they'll lose it, but they'll always get that weapon back. So it is part of who they are, and I get that. I don't have a problem. But when we get to vehicles, this is where I was starting to have my issues with the game, even just trying to work it out for myself. Now, other companies have done different takes on this. And the biggest one I can think of is, I believe, GURPS. Where if you had a vehicle, vehicles did vehicle damage, which I think was like 10 points of damage for every one point of, or 10 points of personal damage for every 1 point of vehicle damage that it would deal or whatever. So if it hit another vehicle, it would be 1 point. If it hit a person, it'd be 10 points of damage. Something like that. So this is where I was running into some problems. We have here we have a vamp. Okay, so if you have the regular vamp compared to the Cobra's version of the vamp, which the Cobra version I believe had the missiles. I think they called that the Stinger. The vamp itself was originally with twin machine guns, and I think there were like 50 cals or so. Looking here, I picked this one up a while ago because I was thinking about using it. So here we have a small vamp. This is to a smaller scale. So, it had 20 twin, I want to say like 50 caliber machine guns on there. And you actually had a little controller on the passenger side to try and aim this. So you didn't have to sit in the back. Kind of based off the old Jeep. So here's where my problems were coming in, and maybe you change things. Maybe they even did a little change up on how they do this today, because this is printed back in, I think this was like last year, maybe a year and a half ago. And it should say here, this is 22. So here we are in 24. So this was done second quarter of 22, I believe. So yeah, we're getting about 2 years later. I know they've come out with more stuff, more things to add in, which is wonderful. And anyone that does play this, I'm not going to bash anyone for this. I'm just telling you where my kind of downfall with this was. So we have our guns, we have our targeting, different effects, but it does 1 sharp damage. So we have a big gun here doing 1 sharp damage. Now 50 caliber is not a small gun. That's what we were using in World War II to shoot down other planes. Let's see here. We have some other ones, and I want to just point this out because this is the one that really just hit me and I just could not shake it anymore. Once I get to, because we have now we're out of the Joe vehicles. It was really the Hiss. The Hiss has got an 80 millimeter or twin 80 millimeter cannons on there. Here, 105 millimeter. So your 105 millimeter does, if it hits you, it does 1 sharp damage. Now the character I had made, I think I had 4 hit points. But if I'm getting hit by a 105 millimeter cannon to the chest, I could take that and walk away. That was the part that just stuck in my head. I'd be a goner. You know, if you've watched the channel of any length, you know that I've been in the military, and yeah, it wouldn't be good. So that was the one part that just kind of stuck with me. So I just kind of stopped from there. Now maybe if I changed things or whatever, made a home rule or something like that, that'd be different. But when you look at this, it is very good artwork, very good stuff. We have a DM screen here, so we have some rules, and you know, they did pretty good at doing this. Operation Cold Iron, which was another good small campaign and all that. Great stuff. It was just doing the vehicles into the characters, and everything you start with only does 1 damage. So my rifle would do 1 damage. If I had a pistol, it did 1 damage. If I had a grenade, it did 1 damage. If I had a knife, it did 1 damage. That was the part that just kind of threw me for a loop, just enough to make me want to say, you know what, this may not be the game for me. And I think I've said it before, there's a lot more games that are really trying to do more the role playing is getting into the character. And because of how I started playing Dungeons and Dragons and then into Star Wars and everything else, we were always lighthearted on our characters. You know, I've been the forever DM, and I've never wanted to try and just up and kill people off. I always try to err on the side of the players, because I want them to come back and I want them to have fun, and that's my idea. Hold on. All right. So really, you know, that's just the whole issue. Maybe if I did do this as a solo and we just did it for the fun, kind of like what I'm doing a little bit more with the Star Trek, we could get back into this. The other part that's kind of worrying me right now is just the state of Hasbro. Now, you know, this is all rumor stuff, so please take all this with a grain of salt. Hasbro sounds like it's running into some problems. If I can only speak this morning, that would just be wonderful. Okay. I don't want to throw anyone into any panic or anything else, because you know what? All this could be a nothing burger, and absolutely nothing happens. Nothing changes. Nothing goes anywhere except for where it's already been. There's a lot of, in some of the stuff that I kind of watch and I listen to and all that, sounds like the direction of Hasbro management is really trying to look at outsourcing some stuff, and possibly Disney might be stopping on making our figures like this, which, you know, they've made some pretty good figures. Let's see here. Here, I got a Sabine Wren right here, just sitting on a shelf. I mean, we have some nice figures. The nice thing about like this line is we actually had things that we couldn't as when I was a kid. We actually have holsters that we can put the guns in. You know, helmets we were able to take on and take off and that, but you know, we actually have some nice articulating characters. I know Hasbro for a while there, because I've been one of these guys that, you know, has just never fully grown up, and you've seen this throughout time here. They've made some really nicely articulating figures for quite a while, and then they've kind of pulled back, almost to the point where the figures are more like what Kenner had done when they first started off. So essentially all you have is just a arm joint, or a joint right here at the shoulder, a joint right here at the hip, and then the head might swivel a little bit, and that was it. And I know that, you know, even for the smaller 3 3/4 inch figures, or 1/18 scale ish, you know, we had the hands or the wrists and that would twist and move, as well as the elbow moving and then twisting and all of that. So they've done some really good figures throughout the years, and then they've just kind of really cut back. So um, for anyone that's playing this, picking up these kind of figures and that, and putting that onto a table to say, hey, this is this and this is that, and however, wonderful, great ideas. Um, that's kind of the reason why I kind of had picked up a bunch of them, because I've got a couple of these guys, because you have your standard trooper. I think I accidentally got two different Baronesses, but they're two different sculpts. But you get Flint and Lady J, and if you can find like a random looking figure or whatever, Lady J in a lot of regards could almost be a female green shirt, but because she's Lady J and the way she's set up, I've never picked up more than just the one. But that would be an option. So you could have extra green shirts, and then they have Grunt out. And Grunt could be very well a male green shirt. So if you want male green shirts, just pick up a bunch of Grunts. Doing army builders like that. These aren't the cheapest like they once were. I mean, you're looking at, if you get it brand new, it's about $25. Depending on what store you go to, if you catch it on sale or clearance or whatever, you might be able to pick it up fairly cheap. I know I've seen some on Amazon that are going down to like $4. I've seen some that are on clearance for maybe about $10. So you can find them cheaper. My concern is right now, whether you're playing the G.I. Joe or you're playing the Star Wars or you're playing anything, first of all, look for sales. I mean, that saves you lots of money. And yeah, you don't get the stuff out right away, and quite often with my Legos and that, I don't get all the Lego stuff right away. Sometimes it's because I don't know it's there until I actually find it on a shelf somewhere. Sometimes it's one of those, I'll wait for it to go on sale or clearance or whatever. And if you find other people that do better reviews than me, go for it. This is done for fun. This is as much fun for me as I hope it's fun for you. And it's just my honest little take of it. As this eternal child at heart, just the silliness at my pool table. And that's where we go. This is all for fun. And hopefully the silliness that I come up with is something to spark your imagination. Unfortunately, our imagination as we get older sometimes starts dwindling, and sometimes we need something to spark that off with. But my big concern about like bringing up the figures is if Hasbro stops making them, the price might go up, and if you're looking for certain ones, it might become hard to find. If you're not looking for them and you have some other figures, I do a lot of the figures as you've seen with Lego. But it's still kind of nice to have these from time to time to say, hey, if I'm going to do a G.I. Joe, I might just grab those. That's what I got them for. I have the Army ones. We just saw the Army ones, Army minifigures up. So I could do an Army one. It's what works for you and your budget. As much as I'd like to say, hey, I only want to do everything in just straight Lego, sometimes there's ideas that other people come up with that are not Lego. And that's some of the things I try to aim for. And I try to find more inexpensive sets. Sometimes, if I can get a bigger set, because I knew as a child I was never going to get these big sets. My parents always got like knockoff Legos. For me at the time it was Tyco. But they got that because they could get me a little bit bigger set of something. And it is what it is. For your imagination and for your enjoyment, I don't care. It's your enjoyment. Now, if your enjoyment means that you only get Lego or you only get a certain name brand or whatever, by all means, don't let me stop you. Don't let anybody tell you no. We're all just trying to get by in our own worlds, and we all have our own limitations, and those limitations are different for everyone. That's just my little take on the whole thing. So I think I'll end it here. I'll step off my little crate of being on the high horse. We may get into this. I might do a little homebrew rule or something, or if we just do it as a solo campaign or whatever in the future. Right now I'm doing the two of them, and I'm trying to get the time and struggling between work, getting time to do these and spending time with the family. And I've got a slightly different shift, so it just kind of mucks up my day at times. I have started playing a little bit of the PAL world, so anybody that's playing that, I don't have any videos of that. I do have it on my computer, so maybe I should try and do it. I'm probably not going to be as adventurous as a lot of other people, but I think it's possibly something I could come up with, and people can see how silly I do when I do my gaming. I end up doing a little bit more of the farming and all that. I know yesterday I even put some tape on my controller because I was just sitting there cooking, and I went up through a whole level just by cooking. So with that, thank you so very much for joining me today. Thanks for sitting around the pool table. Hope you're having a wonderful day, and we'll see you in the next video.